Hello and welcome to the RPG Academy podcast and Twitch channel. My name is Michael, and we're here today for the last faculty meeting. No, not ever. You thought you were going to get out of this. No, this is the last faculty meeting of 2022. Joining me as always is Tom. Tom, say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone.
So it is holiday season time for many of us, not everyone. And if you are someone that celebrates a holiday of any sort, I hope you're having a wonderful time and hope it continues to be wonderful throughout the rest of this year and into early next year. So Tom, do you have any New Year's resolutions? Anything you're hoping to do or change before we head into the new year?
You know what? Honestly, no. It's funny. Me and my wife actually joke about New Year's resolutions. It's like, I don't know. We just don't do them. We're always improving. We're on that grind set, always hustling, trying to be the best that we can be.
Well, that's great. I did see that we have someone, Eric, who's chatting for the first time ever. Thank you, Eric. It makes me wonder, did we change the Twitch thing that said we were playing Warcraft? Probably not.
Oh, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I did.
Because I had that happen the other day. We were doing a detention and it still said Warcraft. So I had people showing up for that. That's hilarious.
I'm all about doing that cross-pollination of audiences. So,
nice.
No, we're just, I will talk about gaming stuff, but yeah, normal stuff, nothing really. What about yourself? Anything crazy going on beginning of the year?
No, I jokingly say that I made a New Year's resolution many years ago that I've never broken, and that was to never make additional New Year's resolutions. I'm just not into that. I'm really much an everyday improvement kind of guy. Like if I see a need, I try to work on it. I fail most of the time, but I don't go into grand gestures like today will be the day that I never X again, or I will always lie. That's just not who I am. So I just don't do that.
Yeah, I may do something. I've thought about doing something more, trying to be more, how do I say it? Less online. It's hard to say, with doing like the podcast and everything. I've thought about I want to curb back social media, different things like that, not do as much. I mean, I'm hoping Elon just nukes it for us anyway, so I don't even have to make that decision myself, but I don't know. Yeah, something like that. I want to read more books. I read a lot already, but I want to read more nonfiction, that kind of stuff. So
nice. All right.
Boring middle-aged man kind of things.
Yeah. So
connect with nature in my being,
For a while, I got really into puzzles.
Okay.
And I still kind of am, but I got one that's really hard. Okay. And it's got to the part where it's hard that it's not fun. Like I don't want them to be easy. I don't do 25-piece puzzle. I do 1,000 generally. And I want them to be a bit of a challenge. So I feel a sense of accomplishment when they're done. But this one is just stupid hard. And I've been working on it for a year, but 8 months of that, I wasn't touching it. I put it up and I just didn't break it out. So yesterday I broke it out again. I'm like, you know what? I bought myself some puzzles for Christmas. I always buy myself Christmas gifts. I bought a couple Marvel themed puzzles for this Christmas. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to get this one. I'm off for break. I'm going to get it done. And then I'll move on to one of these others that'll be more fun. I spent maybe 2 hours on it yesterday. And then I decided to break it out again today. And that stupid cat, that new cat of mine, jumped up on the table and the entire puzzle slid off into the floor.
That's not good.
100% done. There weren't even two pieces that were together by the time I picked it all up. And I was almost in tears. I was just so frustrated by that because it was such a hard puzzle anyways. But then I'm like, well, maybe this is just a sign. I just move on. I couldn't do that. So I started that puzzle over. I've got the border completed and I've got maybe 10% of the puzzle put together other than that. So we'll see if I keep my sanity or manage to get it completed before the end of the new year. I'm not thinking that's a good chance. But we'll see.
Have you heard of the magic puzzles? I've posted about them on our Discord before. You need them. They're made by the same people who did Cards Against Humanity. So it's those people.
Okay.
They are just they're not they're just made by they're not crude or anything, but they're just the most intricate puzzles ever with weird pieces. There's no, there's borders in the middle. It's very confusing puzzle to put together, but it's super fun. They're called magic puzzles. Highly recommend those.
Once I get through the one I'm doing now is a Batman puzzle.
Okay.
But it's a really hard Batman puzzle. But I got a Wolverine and I got a big Spider-Man 1500 when I bought myself for Christmas. Those are next. But I got to get through this GD Batman one first.
Nice. Okay.
All right. Well, anyway, so we're here today for the official final faculty meeting of 2022. As usual, when we gather for these faculty meetings, the goal is that at some point in the conversation that Tom and I are about to have, that there will be some nugget of wisdom you, dear listener, can pull out and apply at your tables, or in this case, maybe today, your life. But we understand that the opinions we share and the advice we give may not work at every table every time, but there is one piece of advice that we feel is generally universal. And what is that one piece of advice, Tom?
If you're having fun, you're doing it right.
That is correct, sir. So no matter which games you're playing, the systems or additions, what rules you use, don't use, or misuse, as long as you and everyone at your table is having a good time, you're doing it right. Looking at the outline, I say I skipped a thing. I want to take a quick rewind and say our patron of the week this week is Scott Brown, a.k.a. Classic Scott or Scott Classic. So this would be, Scott from the olden days, of Wrought Iron and some of the other games that we ran. And word on the street, a little birdie has told me he may be coming back for a new AP that might be starting sometime soon.
Oh, okay.
We are early in the process. We're trying to work out some things, but there is on the horizon. I can see a day where myself, Caleb, Matt, and Scott are once again playing a regular streaming game, and that makes me very happy.
Cool. Sounds cool.
All right. So with that out of the way, we have a couple notes here about RPG news. I'm not sure. Do we even want to cover that today?
No. Let's stick to RPG Academy stuff. Let's stick to us, Michael. Let's talk about me and you.
Happy together.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
So it was a big year. So again, I lose track of time.
Yeah.
But when did you officially become an RPG Academy faculty member?
It's been like 4 years now.
It's been a long time. Yeah. But there's also like you becoming an official co-host of this podcast, and then you kind of taking ownership of Show and Tell. I feel like that was fairly, I think last year, but within the last 2 years.
Last year was the year I started like saying like Show and Tell is mine. Like that's kind of where I did that. So
let's start there. Show and Tell. How would you grade yourself, your efforts, your accomplishments for Show and Tells last year? And is there anything you want to do different leading into next year?
This year we did 22 Show and Tell episodes. I did 20 of them. So that's pretty good. That's at least one a month. All right. So almost 2 a month.
Almost 2 a month.
Almost
I'm
2
not
a
good
month.
at math, but yeah,
We're pretty close. Took a break when I had a kid. So just for a brief moment. And so Show and Tells were great this year. I kind of changed a little bit why I do Show and Tells. All right, I wanted to be more intentional with my questions and who we brought on the show. So for that reason, I've really stopped doing anything associated with D&D. Okay, and it's not that like there's great things about D&D, but I was like, there's so much stuff about D&D. We've said what we can say about it, because what I wanted Show and Tell to do was be very much more about, hey, why did you design this thing? Or how do you feel about tabletop RPGs as an art form? And that's kind of where I really wanted to kind of shift Show and Tell and to really get into more of people's design philosophies. And I was pretty intentional about that, and I thought we've had some really, really good interviews this year. I mean, probably one of my favorite ones I did was with Dwayne, who did the Noctis Labyrinth, which was a more recent episode. It was just such a good episode. Argentinian game designer, really kind of got into like why he did certain things in the game. It's super cool to hear about his culture. So I'm trying to just I'm really like for next year, what I really want to do is I want to talk to more people from Latin America and South America. So that's really what I want to do. I think I would almost say like a design renaissance coming out of there with some really cool designers doing some really cool stuff. And I want to talk to more of them. So that's kind of like next year's goal, is to really talk to more Latin American designers. But you know what? Show and Tell's doing good. You know, there's a few, I don't want to like say which ones. There's a few that were just kind of like, meh, you know, my heart wasn't in it kind of thing. But it's also stuff that But I mean, I think we did a couple with Craig Campbell. He's always awesome having on the show. Craig's always cool. We match energies pretty closely, very spastic. So he's always cool. So yeah, no, there's a lot of good ones.
All right. And, again, in case anyone isn't aware, we kind of have an open submission policy, I guess, for show and tells. Like if you just email us and say, hey, I got this project, this thing, would you be interested in covering it? We don't cover all of them. We get more requests than we can fulfill just based on timing and then in some cases interest. But we have stepped back. We are no longer charging specifically for show and tells like we used to. There are still some instances where we might, just because we are still trying to keep the show afloat. But for the most part, you don't have to spend any money to get your project on our show, either here on Show and Tell or like Detention or our review shows, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So if you have something that you would like some coverage of, please consider reaching out, particularly if you think you've got a project that you think Tom would be interested in for some reason, not D&D related, unless it's just super cool.
Yeah, it's got to be something super unique.
Yeah. So where do people send it? Because usually they come to me and I'll forward them on to you. But where would you want people just to like email you directly?
If somebody wants, it's tom.therpgacademy@gmail.com. That's the best way you shoot it to me. That way Michael doesn't have to, forward them to me. Also, if you're going to get shuffled to the top of the pile, if you're doing something that isn't necessarily a new book, I just realized that like the interviews I did this year where it wasn't just talking about a new game, but like something game adjacent was just like, it's so much fun because you get to talk about things you don't usually get to talk about. Like I just did the one recently with Austin Ramsey doing KalazCon. It was just such a cool interview because it's like, we get to talk about things outside of just making a game.
Right.
So, which is cool. I like talking about those things, but it's like a breath of fresh air.
Very cool. Okay. So let's roll right into faculty meetings. So there was a kind of a fallow period where we weren't doing them very regularly. That was part of having lost the co-host, then you were involved in other things, and then just my attentions had gotten other places. And it was really kind of you who were like, why don't we take a look back at some of these older episodes? And it sort of reignited the passion of doing them. It's been really fun to revisit these old episodes. Just recently, you had talked about Nico and how you really loved the energy he brought to the table. And I'd reached out to Nico a couple times trying to get him to come back to the show sporadically or whatever. And it never really worked out, but I did it again. And he has said he's interested. Like it's still, we are nowhere near scheduling that, but he's at least saying, he wouldn't mind coming in and talking about, something related to a previous episode or just, because you never had a chance to meet with him. So I'm just excited to say that we've gotten back at least in a more regular schedule with faculty meetings. I don't know how many we hit this year. You have in your notes 14. That doesn't seem right to me either because it's either too many or too few.
Yeah, so it seems too few because I think it's too few. I basically did a WordPress search of them, and I don't think everything came up just because of when me and you post them. We don't always put them in the right categories, that kind of thing.
That could be it, yeah. I mean, I don't know because at this point, we're trying to aim for every other week. I don't think we have the schedule with all the other shows that we do to do them weekly. But if we could get to around 20 to 25 a year, I think that's a good number because, again, we're going to have holidays. We're going to have breaks. We got faculty meetings. Catacon takes a big hit. But I myself am actually very super excited to get back to doing faculty meetings regularly. And, and we are a multi-Emmy nominated podcast, as I like to tell anyone who will listen. And we've submitted multiple shows. We've submitted our APs. We've submitted show and tells. We've submitted this, that, and the other. The two shows that got us nominated were both faculty meetings. So those are in some ways kind of the bread and butter of what people at least used to come to us for. I feel like we've gotten a little away from giving advice just because I feel like I'm repeating myself all the time. I'm saying the same thing over. Shush and Zero is really important. Player agency is very important.
Yeah.
Yes, and there's always a chandelier. I don't know what more I have to offer in that regard. So it's it made it hard for me to want to do faculty meetings because I just feel like I wasn't offering anything new. But then this lens of looking back at the old episodes and seeing where and how my opinions have changed, and in some cases they have drastically, that's, again, it's reignited my passion for doing these. So once again, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to, I haven't got to the Caleb G episodes yet. Still in the very early episodes. And I'm not going to lie, those early episodes are kind of hard to get through sometimes. And
yet we were never more popular.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, that's why and I think a lot of it is you guys are talking you're talking D&D the entire time. It's a different style. It's very much more, I don't call it shock jock, but kind of, it's borderline. That just kind of two buds hanging out, no real structure. But like the Nico episodes are great because I feel like he plays well with you, and then also the episodes with Jared are also really good episodes. So I'm excited for like when Caleb joins, because I think that's going to be like, then I'm going to be like, oh man, can't wait to listen to the next one kind of thing. So It's cool.
Well, hopefully that will continue.
Yes.
I also want to mention TTRPG crowdfunding review show we started last year, and that is actually one of my favorite things that we do. I've absolutely loved that. I have two hosts that kind of have came on for that show specifically, Ellen and Larry, and I just think we have a great vibe. I think we bring a different perspective to crowdfunding. And I think we're highlighting some really cool stuff. Now, there's some obvious ones that get thrown in there every time just because, but we're also finding some hidden gems. And I'm very happy to report that we have started getting pretty regular emails from people that we highlight that, we tag them. So sometimes we come up in searches, and sometimes people do, support them. And then we'll say, hey, I heard about you because of the show. So I've had multiple emails from designers just saying, thank you. I really appreciate you highlighting our project. And that's part of the reason why we do it. Like, yes, it's just fun. But again, the RPG Academy thing, we really try not to like harp on stuff. So if there's things that we don't like, we don't talk about those. We talk about the things that we're excited about, things that we have backed or end up backing because someone else brought them, things that we love. And I think that translates and people are enjoying that. And I actually, and again, this is not why I do it. I had one designer send me some money just because I was talking about how my wallet keeps taking a hit from all these projects I'm submitting. They're like, hey, here's some money, throw it at somebody's project. And I did, and it was great. So it's made me really happy that people care enough about what we do, that again, the emails mean a lot to me. Just sometimes I'm feeling down. Sometimes I'm like, you know what, I've been doing this. God, it's like 11 years, going on 12 years. Do I really want to keep doing this? And then it just seems like every time I get to that point where I'm really low, I get a little email from someone. It's like, hey, I really enjoy what you do. Thanks for what you do. And much like a Catacon, where sometimes I felt like, am I going to do this again? And then people tell me that they love it, reinvigorates me. Those emails really do reinvigorate me. So if you have not yet sent an email, but you've thought about it, you're like, they don't need my emails. Maybe we do. Maybe the email that you're going to send today is the reason we keep doing this in 6 more years.
Yeah, it's a good show. It's one that I listen to that one. So, and you guys have a good energy. So I think for me, like I don't have a whole lot of time. All right. So there's a lot of podcasts to listen to. And I try to obviously keep up to, I know what you're doing and everything. So, but I started listening to this one. I was like, oh, this is actually like, I actually like to listen to this just as like a tabletop RPG fan, not like as just the Academy, because I think you guys got a good vibe. So
I think so too. I think again, I think Larry's been a great addition, but I really think Ellen's kind of what cemented like just the vibe that I'm going for. So again, I think both of them are terrific. I'm so glad both of them are now part of the fold. They're both now a faculty, and Larry comes to Catacon most of the time. Ellen was supposed to this year, but then something happened kind of last minute and couldn't. But I'm just excited that both of them are willing to go on this little journey with us and to be a part of what we do. So very excited for that show to continue. We're on hiatus until I think January 15th will be our next new show, and we are now streaming those as well. So it's, again, more content for the content machine.
Cool.
All right. What else? We got review shows. We really kind of picked those up this year.
Yeah, did a few reviews this year. We don't do a whole lot of those because it's one of those things where we got to wait for somebody to send us stuff. We did 10 of those this year. Caleb G stepped in for some of those. Big Al stepped in to help do some stuff, do one or two of those. We did a bunch of D&D reviews this year because they released a lot of books.
They send them to us.
They send them to us. Probably one of my favorite reviews we did that review of the solo RPG.
Mm-hmm.
Lost Among the Starlit Wreckage. Super cool mecha game. I'm really into mechs right now. So, yeah, so we did. If you want us to review something, shoot us a PDF, or let us know.
Again, we don't promise we'll review it, but we will try. Bob has actually stepped up.
Okay.
Bob the Tree is going to be doing one for us. Caleb's finishing up one now. I have one that I'm working on that won't be out till next year. It's on the Everyday Heroes RPG. So we're continuing to also expand out of the D&D centric market that still dominates, but we're excited to just do things that are lesser or different, not lesser, different.
Yeah, I actually enjoy doing the D&D reviews because I enjoy, just digging into a WotC book and talking about what's not great. But then, like with the Dragonlance review that we just did, sometimes they have a gem, and I'll tell them. I'll say.
Yeah, when I send in, because again, just behind the scenes, like we get free stuff from some people to do reviews, and generally the exchange is we will do the review if we like it, because we still hold that caveat. If we absolutely hated something, we wouldn't do it, even if it was WotC. Notice we didn't do a Spelljammer review.
Yep.
I got their stuff, but we always, we promote it. We send it out. We hashtag it. We're like, hey, here's a review. It just helps feed their machine. But I always email whoever it is and say, hey, here's our coverage of the product. Once again, thank you for letting us, review your stuff. And I even put in the email to them. I'm like, hey, here's our review of the Dragonlance stuff. It was actually really positive. Even Tom, who doesn't normally like everything that WotC does, gave this a very high remark. So I personalized that email to them, letting them know that you actually like the product, which is unusual for you.
Nice. Yeah, so reviews, then we did some more streaming stuff. Big highlight for me was Ghost of Saltmarsh concluded this year. We ran that campaign for 2 years on Twitch. It was super fun. It's always fun to end a campaign. And we went level 1 to 20 on it. So it's always a highlight. Get to put a bow on something. So it was good. And then we started another one. So
Eric in chat mentioned that they actually came to a Catacon this year. It was their first gaming convention. So, wow. That's
awesome.
Happy to be your first.
Yeah.
It was also a gentle convention organizer.
It was also... Catacon was also my first. Streaming stuff. You stream some video games, different things like that.
Yeah, hits and misses on a few things. I have like 2 people that join me a lot of the time. Some keys, one of them, the pun guy. He comes to a Catacon as well. That follows me on Twitter. And then just a few, like some of the regulars you would think. Grant jumps in, Fox played quite a lot. Remy when they can. I'm sure I'm missing some people. My apologies for that, but it's still fun. The Warcraft thing is actually doing very well.
Okay.
Compared to a lot of it. But now that we're on Christmas break and my kids are home, my schedule's off, so I haven't been doing it. But I think I'm on mission 10 or 11. I think there's like 12 or 13. So I'm almost done with streaming at least the human campaign. I haven't decided if I want to circle back and do the orc campaign, because even though they're different, they're also very similar. Like there's a lot of overlap between the two. And I don't currently have a way I could stream Warcraft 2. So I'm just not sure what I want to do next. But I'm still enjoying it. I was streaming Shadow Spawns, the 13th Age game. It was a ton of fun, but unfortunately it died. That just seems to be what happens to my campaigns more than anything. But we are working on a new campaign, Savage Worlds, hopefully starting early next year, with possibly Matt, Scott, and Caleb as players, if we can line that up. That's the current plan, but I'm going to be flexible because that's just hard to do.
Yeah.
With everybody's schedules. But if we can make it work, we're going to. If not, then we will move on and do more of like a fill-in NPC guest starring type of thing. The way that campaign is set up, it works very well to have one-off guest stars. Maybe their characters pop in and out. Maybe their character died. They come in again as a different character. So that's currently the current plan, but we shall see.
Cool.
All right. So we got a few questions that were sent in by some people, and just when we told them we were going to do this, so we're going to hit these as much or little as we want. So I will start with the first one. Tom, I'll ask you, 2022, what was your favorite RPG or TTRPG experience as a GM?
Okay. So I put on here Ending Ghost of Saltmarsh. It was, but I already mentioned that, but it was cool to, yeah, so it was great because we started running it with the book, all right? But then we realized, we're like, hey, this only goes to like level 8, and you guys said you wanted to go to level 20. So we had to basically homebrew that whole thing, and it was cool to be able to do a 1 to 20 game all homebrew, which I've never done before. So, and just to get it tied into the end and like to have it all wrap up real nice, it was very satisfying. So as it kind of like, because I was starting to get burnt out a little bit on it. But then when we got to that last session, and I was just like, man, that was fun. Like, I'm going to miss this. And I'll still even, like, will randomly, like, just think about that campaign. It was, like, it's always cool to finish a campaign. And so I finished one this year. And so, yeah, that would probably be the highlight for me as a GM.
We'll circle back because I know for a while we were also releasing those as a podcast.
Yes.
But then that you got behind. Are you circling back to that? Because I know people have been asking.
People have been asking. It's still up in the air. It's very tough to, I will say this, because the plan is we're going to start releasing the Everwar soon, which is our new one. And so it's just trying to find the energy to go back. We have all the episodes. We've got them all. They're all recorded. They're sitting on my hard drive. Or in my spare hard drive. I don't keep my stuff like that kind of stuff. But it's like we were doing like really tight edits of those. Like we were cutting so much out. Rules, talk, different things, flowing stuff together, put music in. It was really high production value. We released a bunch, and it was one of those things where it just got like, I was starting not to enjoy it. And
it becomes a job really quickly.
And
a job that you don't get paid to do.
Yeah, and it was just like, so I kind of said, all right, I'm just going to run this game and I'm going to have fun with it. And I did it for myself, and I'm glad I did it that way. No regrets. # no regrets. I'm going to, like the Everwar, because I'm not running it. Jake's running it. There's a high likelihood that that'll actually get completed in the podcast form. So fingers crossed.
All right. Fair enough.
What about yourself?
So anyone who knows me and listens to this probably will not be too shocked by what I'm about to say. But I had a lot of big things happening this year. Obviously, Action 12 Cinema. I've been continuing doing play tests with that. We started a new show again, The Sample Adventures, which started off great, but again, it has kind of waned. But we're getting some more stuff started with that soon. So I ran quite a few games, not as much as a weekly game like you were doing, hit or miss. I got to run games for my kids. But I think if I'm going to pare it all down, my favorite experience this year was the game that I got to run at the cabin for Brandon, Bill, and Joe, my 3 best friends I had as a kid. They're people I started playing D&D with when we were 12. I've told those stories over and over again. I didn't expect them to want to play, so I did not come prepared. And then they brought it up to me like, hey, why don't we play D&D? So we, again, ran to Walmart, bought a starter set. So it was all very hodgepodge and improvised. But we ran a game, the Dragonspine Adventure, the one I've run many, many times in that kind of scenario. And at the end, they were like, why don't we keep playing? To the point that I'm now running a campaign with them, though Bill has yet to show back up. And scheduling, again, has been kind of a nightmare, but no one's given up on it yet. We're constantly trying to find the days that we can play. And just getting to play that game with those 3 dudes again was amazing. I can't put it into words how it made me feel, and to know that it went so well that they want to keep playing. Like that was always my fear, is that we would play and then be like, oh yeah, I don't miss this at all. And instead it was oh man, I kind of missed this. We should do more of this. And again, I don't know whether that's because I did a good job or just because it was the 4 of us together again in that situation, but it absolutely was like, it just filled my heart with joy.
Yeah. Getting those, like, it's cool. We do a lot of stuff with like podcasts, get to talk to a lot of cool people, a catacon, but there's just something to be said about just playing with your friends who have no idea what else you do. Yeah. Like, that's why my other group that I play with on the off Wednesdays of our stream, they come to a catacon and stuff, but it's just like, it's like you play your game, and it's like, it's outside of any of the podcast stuff. It's just like, I'm just playing a game and you're having fun with it. So yeah, those are really cool moments.
Absolutely. All right, so flip of the switch here, other side of the coin. Any particular favorite moments from a game you played in this year?
Okay, I also threw this out to the chat, so if you also let us know if you have any favorite moments. But so favorite game. All right, the Beam Saber. Okay, so this I had so much fun. We streamed this. You released it on the podcast.
I think it's a sample adventure, isn't it?
It was so much fun. Austin ran it for us, the designer of the game. It was Mo and Jake and me. This was a great group. I had so much fun with this game, and I was not a huge fan of Forged in the Dark. All right, but I played this, and I was like, okay, this is what I wanted from this system. Obviously, I'm a big mech anime fan, so I had that going for me. But there was this moment at the end of the session where I was in this final fight with this guy, and it was this thing, and then at the end of the game, he got away, and I put my fist up to the space and said, my character was like, I will find you and I will destroy you. And then I said to Austin, I was like, Austin, because in anime there's this trope of protagonists always have antagonists, their rival. It's their rival. That's Goku and Vegeta. That's the famous thing. But they're in all anime they have their rival. And so I was like, Austin, this is my anime rival. And then Austin was like, well, guess what? I actually have rules for that. And he's got rules for your rival in that game. So it was just so good. If you I've always wanted to play an anime game, but I've never found rules that emulate it really well. And Beam Saber did it. So it was great. It was a great moment. I had so much fun.
And you can go back and listen to that. I think it's on YouTube and the podcast if somebody would like to check it out.
Such a good game.
So I kind of struggle with this one a little bit because I don't play that much. As much as I do, it's almost always running. I'm running playtests for Extra Pulp Cinema. I run the stream games. I run D&D games. So I don't have a lot of time to play. So I went to Gen Con. I was trying to remember my Gen Con experiences from this year because I'm sure I had a ton of fun there, but I also ran mostly the games there. I went to a couple other cons this year. We went to the faculty retreats, but we don't really do a lot of role playing there. It's almost always board games. And I think I ran Action 12 Cinema this year, but the first one, but not the second one. And not as I don't want this to come like a consolation prize, but the thing that just when I think about that, the thing that sticks out to me most is the games I got to play in that my kids ran. Were these great games? No, they were not. But were they an amazing experience because I got to play D&D or Pathfinder with my kids and they ran the game for me and we got the wife to play as well? Yeah, I'm going to cherish those moments for as long as I live. And it, again, when I give DM advice, it's always, is your first game going to be your best game? No, but you can't get to your best game until you get through those first games. And I got through the first games of both John and Jacob running games for me. And someday they're going to run their best games. And I hope that even if I'm not part of that game, because John's now running games for his friends, I hope that I'm around for those games. I hope he will come to me and talk about, hey, this just happened. This was so cool. And, he's asking me for advice about the games he's running for his friends. He's running a version of Dragon Spine. And so he's just asking me questions and stuff. And again, heart melting moments to share that. Because it honestly, it doesn't matter what it is. But we both now share that. If we both were into hunting or fishing or NASCAR or whatever, I'm getting to share something with my kids that we both love. And I love that we get to share it together. And so for us, it's role-playing games. Absolutely melting my heart.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like when you think about parents, they usually share those really physical things like sports and hunting and, cars, that kind of stuff. But I don't necessarily see as many parents who play games bringing their kids into it until I feel like it's becoming more a thing you do, which is cool. So I hope more people do that. I plan on bringing my kids in too. So that's cool.
Absolutely. All right. So new games. So, obviously D&D is not your favorite, though you are enjoying playing Everwar Saga quite a lot, but we get around a lot of games from the podcast, from the Kickstarter stuff that we do, or, I pay attention to through my show. So do you have a particular game, not necessarily new to the world, but new to you this year.
Yeah, for sure. And it's 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. This year was the year I got into solo games. Mm-hmm. And man, I only played 1,000-Year-Old Vampire one time, but it was just cool. Like, it was just cool exploring a character in a way that I wanted to explore them. You got to get really dark with it, and it's really hard to describe. I wouldn't call it like where I was like emotional and I'm like crying or angry about this character or something, but it was kind of like that kind of vibe, like where I'm just like, I'm really invested with it. I'm like feeling it. And man, that was I created this vampire who was a kind of a Roman soldier and got mixed up with some vampires when they were over in Brittany, with some Celtic vampires and stuff. And it turned into like this whole like Industrial Revolution story, and it was, yeah. If you want to try solo games, and they're not for everyone, I will say this, like you have got to like, they're not for everyone, and that's okay. Some people just aren't into sitting down and journaling for an hour. Right. It's a unique style of play, and I'm glad they exist because I had a lot of fun with it. So it's cool.
So this is another one I struggle with because I don't play a lot of new games. Like board games, yes, but role-playing games, no. With the sample adventures, the ones that we've done, I think I've mostly ran, or at least I was already familiar with. Fantasy Age, we played D&D. Alien, I don't think I played in that one, though. No. I've already played Alien before.
But what about running? Even if you ran a new game?
So again, this is going to sound very self-serving, but honestly, for me, it's probably Action 12 Cinema.
Okay.
Again, I know it's a game I'm working on, so I know it probably doesn't count, but I got to run and play that game. It's kind of a new game because it's not actually out yet, but it hopefully will come out next year. But it's a ridiculously fun game. It's a silly game. There's not a lot of game to it. It's very, I like to compare it to the game The Mind. I don't know if you've ever played that with us.
Yeah, I have.
Right. The Mind is a stupidly fun game, but it's also just a deck of cards 1 to 100. And whoever created it should somewhat be ashamed of themselves for creating that game. And that's exactly how I feel about Action 12 Cinema. There's so little game there, but it allows you to have so much fun that it's like, I can't quite understand it, explain it either, but it's a ton of fun. And I'm super excited about other people getting to play it. So that's probably, I don't know if it quite fits the category, but that's what I'm going with.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right. So what about some regrets? #regrets.
Yeah. Okay.
What's the dumbest thing you spent money on this year related to gaming?
Okay. So here's the thing. I don't regret this decision that I made at all. Like, I don't regret this. That's why no regrets. I'm happy with my decision to buy or back the Batman RPG. Okay. It's a D20 system. It's not
your favorite.
It's my favorite. Yeah. It's not. And I got this it's not 5e. All right. It's some French system. All right. But it might as well be 5e. All right. It shares a lot of similarities with it. And it's a licensed game, and it's D20, which I harp on those games so much. But then the Batman game, I was like, I love Batman. I'm going to spend a lot of money on this game. And I did. And it was probably the most expensive RPG that, like, the most I've spent on an RPG ever, because I got everything. And I don't know if I'll ever run it because I don't know if my table is that into Batman, but everything looks super cool. They've got it's a lot of original art too, which is awesome. And yeah, no, I got a lot of flack from people when I decided to back this game. I had to do it though.
I mean, I think Batman screams for a solo RPG. Like that's its wheelhouse, but that's just not a mass market proposition. But that's what someone should do.
Okay. Yeah, that was mine. What about yourself?
So I also spend a stupid amount of money. For me, it's a little bit different because it's always justified as, well, it's a catacon. So if I buy a game, it goes into the catacon library. If I do anything related, it's for that. And I was looking, and I think the dumbest decision I've ever made when it comes to Kickstarter and gaming would be the second Marvel United one, the X-Men one.
Yeah.
But technically, I believe that was 2020. I think that was 2020 when I did that one. I spent a stupid amount of money on it, knowing that some of that money was for Catacon specifically to give it away. So I got a lot of Kickstarter exclusives just to give away for a Catacon. But this is a game, the first Marvel United, I went all in on, and I almost never play it. I was like, I'll paint the minis. I almost never paint any of the minis. And then I went even more all in the second time around. But I think technically it was 2021, so I don't think it gets to count. So I was looking back, and I did spend some money, obviously, on a bunch of Kickstarters this year. Most of them I went pretty low. The Marvel Zombie Side one I spent a lot of money on, but I don't regret that because I'm actually really excited about that game. I'm looking forward to getting it. And I may end up, I'm gonna pick one with the caveat that it may end up being an amazing decision. But right now, I'm starting to think it might have been a stupid decision. So there was this. I don't think it was on Kickstarter. I think it was on Indiegogo or one of the others. Land of Eam.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. That looks awesome.
It looks very cool. So I went all in. I spent like $130 on the all-in box set for this RPG, knowing who I am. It will probably never even get played. It will probably go on my shelf, and I will look at it, and it will never make it to the table. Now, maybe it will, because the sales pitch is like basically Muppets playing role-playing games. And I'm like, I love the Muppets. I love role-playing games. But it's also like hex crawly, like there's like hex maps and grids. And so I don't know if I'm ever actually going to play it or not, but it's on the way. I'll get it someday. So right now I'm going to say that with the caveat that if I actually get to play it and it's a lot of fun, it may not be stupid anymore.
Okay. Yeah. No, I almost got that one, but I decided not to.
No, you can borrow mine if you actually want to play it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, that was it.
All right. So this is one you had on the list here. New nerd thing that you got super into.
Yeah.
And like everything I do is like I'm the compulsive personality disorder. Like everything I do, I get super into. And right now it's still podcasting and role-playing games. I don't have time for anything new. I do paint minis occasionally, very rarely, because I don't do it nearly enough. I have 1,000 minis I need to paint. I don't. So for me, I'm just going to say, no. What do you got?
Painting minis.
Okay.
I got obsessed with this. Back in probably June, and I have not stopped. I paint a lot now. It's kind of this thing where I get to disconnect. I'm not in front of a screen. If I start reading at night, I fall asleep, which is unless I'm reading comics on my iPad. But I was like, this is something that I can sit up and do, and I feel creative doing it. I realize I'm getting pretty good at it, and it's something that where I paint my minis. Here in my office, my wife will come in and work a puzzle at the table. So like we're in this room together, we're kind of hanging out. But yeah, no, for people who can't, I'll see if I can here's I've started painting. It's really hard to see, it's how minis are, but I've been doing mostly Power Rangers and stuff, but they're honestly not half bad. I've started getting into shading and doing what do they call it, where the guns look all muzzle burned and all this other kind of stuff. And it's cool. I've already painted some today. So this morning, and I will probably paint some after this. So if
you ever want to paint on camera, more content for the content.
Yeah, no, I've actually thought about that, but you need a really good, you really need to figure out that camera setup, because I've thought about that, because I'm already painting. I might as well just do it. But yeah, I don't know what that's a whole other level of camera work and everything. But yeah, I love minis. Eric says they have so many unpainted minis. So I don't.
So many.
I don't see. That's the thing too. I don't have that many unpainted minis, because the only minis game I have is the Power Rangers miniatures game, because I always made fun of people who bought minis games. One of my best buddies, he's obsessed with them. He's always buying minis games. He's so many minis games. Dude, you're just buying those because they got cool minis. Now I'm at the point where I want to buy a minis game, even though it's because it's got cool minis. So I just want to paint them.
So I've got Marvel United X-Men, and now Marvel Zombicide. Plus I got the DC Gotham City Chronicles game. And then I got the Batman animated series game. I easily have 2,000 minis that will never be printed.
You should, next time we're together, you're in Cincinnati, just bring your Gotham City Chronicles game. Just bring it up to me. And I'm not kidding. I'll start painting it up for you because I want to paint those minis.
I painted a few. They look. The Bane looks amazing. I did the old classic like 60s Batman, Robin. I did those 3 and they looked amazing. But then it just became undaunting because there's so many of them.
Michael,
it just came over. It was like a psychological barrier of getting completed.
If you don't want to paint those, bring them to me. I'll paint them and I will give them back to you because my thing is I just want to paint the minis. I don't want to keep them.
I will absolutely give you minis to paint. Even if you do a terrible job, it's still paint. So I'm happy with it. So yes. I will never complain.
Okay.
All right. So we could probably go on for hours. I know I certainly could. I'm sure Tom would want me to shop it eventually. But we want to kind of bring things a little bit to a close here. So is there any big, important life lessons that 2022 has taught you? More in regards to like role-playing games and what we do here, the silly stuff, but anything that you're going to carry forward into next year to make 2023 an even better year, anything you want to share with me or with our audience?
Yeah. Okay. So I wrote this, that it's okay to be a hater. And I say this tongue in cheek because I'm kind of like I can be a little more critical, a little bit more, just this is how I am. But I realized that it's okay up to a point to be critical this year. There's this, people talk about like the toxic positivity within kind of nerd space and everything's good and always be promoting each other. And it just kind of becomes draining. Like this idea of like, you gotta like everything, or you always need to be pumping up this friend of yours to like, and I was like, no, I'm just gonna enjoy what I enjoy. And if I see something that should be critiqued, I'm going to critique it. And the other thing that I learned is I'm not going to like punch down on like somebody, they make a, something and they, do $5,000 on Kickstarter. I'm not going to like be critical. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like some bigger names. Like I've even started being critical of Free League. Like when of them kind of selling out with the Walking Dead stuff. I've just like, even the stuff I like, I want to like say like, be very like, yeah, no, that's kind of problematic. And just be willing to say that and not get swept up. There's this whole idea also with just being on social media so much within the game space of always trying to promote yourself or really curate your feed so that you get as many followers as you can. I was like, no, I'm just going to say what I want to say. And I just don't care about that follower count or anything. And I'm just going to interact with who I want to interact with. And just like it became more of like, it stopped being like a hustle kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I started enjoying the tabletop RPG space more. So that's what I'm talking about when I say it's okay to be a hater. It's like, we're people. You don't have to like everything that WotC makes. You don't have to think it's great. Like, it's okay to not worry about Big Brother Hasbro like not liking you kind of thing. So that's for me.
All right. So mine's somewhat, I guess, similar to that, is trying to find the balance, because like my life kind of revolves around RPGs at this point. Like the number one thing I do other than like sleep and breathe is related to gaming. I podcast about it. I write about it. I'm designing a game, I stream about it. I mean, it's just, I run a convention and I really enjoy it. I absolutely love doing it, but it is a job that pays me nothing, and again, to be clear, we're still probably better than most as far as like we get people who send us free stuff and I get to go to Gen Con for free. Like there's absolute benefits to doing it. But if you account the time that I spend doing this and you paid me just minimum wage, it's so much that I don't get paid. And I don't do other things because of it, but because I enjoy it. I'm just trying to find a balance between how much time I actually put into this versus what I'm getting out of it. I do the Farm to Fable podcast now, which I'm really enjoying, but it's also a lot of time and almost nothing out of it other than people tell me every now and then, hey, I like your show. Like that's mostly what I get out of it. So, and I have an actual job now, like I didn't for a couple of years, but I'm actually working. I have responsibilities there. And so I'm just trying to find a way so I don't get burnt out. Because I do, again, my personality, I get obsessed. I get really hyper focused and I get stuff done, but then it lays fallow for a while and then I start to feel guilty. Like, oh, I haven't done that. I got to circle back to it. So just trying to find a way for me to navigate all my current responsibilities as well as being a father and a husband and, and not burning out so that I stop enjoying what I'm doing. Cause I still love RPGs. I still love getting to play them with friends and family. And I love talking about them, but I think I was taking on too much at some points. Some of us at Catacon, some of us Action Film Cinema. So maybe once that Kickstarter is over, it might balance out a little bit more, but I just feel like I need to make sure that I don't burn myself out to the point that I quit versus just maybe it's okay if we only get 3 episodes this month rather than 4 or something type of a thing.
Yeah, 100%. You got to find your limit. I think that kind of goes back to like with the Ghost of Saltmarsh stuff. I'd love to get that on the podcast. Like I really would, but once it becomes a job or like something you don't enjoy doing, it then starts to suck the life out of what I actually do enjoy doing. I'm like, ugh, I don't want to do another interview with somebody, which is what I usually like to do. So, but yeah, no, I get it.
Very cool. All right. And then looking forward, 2023, is there any big thing that you're looking forward to, or just again, because you're Spicy Take Tom,
yeah. Okay.
Is there something you hope dies in the fires of Hades?
Yeah. Okay. So something I hope goes away and something I'm looking forward to. The thing I hope goes away is, it's not, but the thing that I dream is luxury products within tabletop RPGs. It's just between Wormwood and Dispel Dice and all these other by Diamond Dice, or like the one that really got me the other day was somebody was trying to sell dice made out of actual retired medical skeletons. And I'm like, that just is so wrong. It just is. And so I hope that, because then people flex on them, other people with like, yeah, look at this thing that I spent $500 on. It's just, it can get toxic. So I don't know. I just hate the idea of luxury products in general. Just anything that is used to just say, look at what I have, annoys me.
Fair enough. So I put one on here, but I think I'm going to change it a little bit. And it's not going to go away, but the sort of fetishizing of influencers.
Yeah.
Like the Satine Phoenix thing. Like that should never have become the issue, because they never should have gotten the power that they had. And I'm not trying to talk about them specifically, but just in general, like, yes, if somebody's funny and fun and they share great content, great. But nobody needs 100,000 followers and their own crews, and you pay $500 to have an hour. No one in this space deserves that, in my opinion. I don't know. It seems weird to me.
Yeah, I think I'm proud of the tabletop RPG people, because I feel like they're starting to wise up to the cult of personality. I think the Satine Phoenix was kind of the kick in the pants that people needed to be like, oh, we may have unhealthy parasocial relationships with people on Twitter. And so, hopefully that goes away 100%.
I would hope so. Gosh. Because I just hate seeing it too. I hate I know and again, not about that one specifically, but they actually hurt people. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they're not the only ones. It's just the ones that's currently in the news cycle. So just, protect yourself.
Yes.
And then I'm kind of tired of people shitting on D&D because it's King of the Hill. I get it. It's not the greatest game ever made, but it's still the biggest in the playground. Yeah. And I feel like people are, again, they're trying to make that their thing, that I'm going to be the one that craps on it. Okay, I'm sorry no one wants to play your game about seducing a fish, but it's never going to, go put it on an itch. You might get $10 out of it by 1,000 people. Great, good for you. But your game's not better than D&D just because it's not D&D,
Yeah, no, I agree. Whenever your whole personality becomes one thing, it's just annoying. People whose personality is D&D are annoying. People who hate D&D as their personality is annoying. You have to hate a lot of things, like, in order to, like, balance it all out.
Well-rounded. Yeah. Hate many things. But we like to talk about things we love. Yes. So enough of that. Okay. Let's talk about one thing, at least, that we're really looking forward in 2023.
Okay. I am really looking forward to Zypher. All right. This is a RPG by Federico Sones. They've been working on it for years, and Federico has put out some good games. All right, so this is one that's kind of like the one that they've been like, everything's been leading towards this. It's basically a game about exploring anarchy within this weird whimsical world. It's dark, but also, like I said, whimsical as well. There's a tactile element too, with destroying character sheets and throwing stuff on character sheets, and it's going to be really cool and unique. I don't think we've seen anything like this, so I am. Oh, really? Look, we did a show and tell like early this year about it because I had to talk to him about it. And I'm sure we'll re-release it when it starts to come out. But yeah, no, Zypher or however you say it, I'm really looking forward to it.
Very, very cool. I'm totally self-serving. Catacon 2023 and Action 12 Cinema. Those are the two biggest things that I'm looking forward to in regards to this space. Again, Action 12 Cinema, I don't expect it to be $100,000 Kickstarter. Honestly, if I can get to $10,000, I will be doing backflips. I just want to pay what it costs to make it. Like, I want there to be a game with my name on it somewhere in a library. I want there to be a book that has my name on it. That has been a dream of mine since I was probably 10 years old. Even before I played D&D, I've wanted to be a writer and I've wanted to have stories. And so the idea that there's a book with my name on it is really important to me. So yeah, getting that out into the world in some form, one way or the other. Do I want it to be $100,000? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't expect it to be. I'm not planning on it to be. I just wanted to make sure that it at least pays for itself, minimum. And then if I can even pay back what I owe myself from what I've already done, that would be great too. And I'm not talking about hours. I'm talking about, like, I have the money I put into it to have someone already help me with editing and layout stuff. Now I will never get paid back the time I put into it. I don't worry about that. But that being out there is a big deal. And then Catacon 2022 was such a big year for us, being successful, growing, making a profit, that I'm so ready to get into 2023 and, maybe start earlier with a few things so that we're not crunching so hard at the end. Like, maybe some things are already taken care of and we can just not be so worried. And by we, I mean me, about things for those last 2 months. So those are the two biggest things I'm looking forward to.
Nice. Those are two really cool, big things. So
absolutely. All right. So any final thoughts, anything you want to say, anything you want to circle back to? Otherwise, just kind of roll into your social media plugs and where people can find you.
No, I think we've covered it all. 2022, it was a good year. All right. So you can follow me at Beskar Tom on Twitter. That's Mandalorian Metal Tom. Once again, another encouragement. I'm going to get there before Michael. If you would like to join our Discord, you should let us know. You can DM us on Twitter, shoot us an email at therpgacademy@gmail.com or tom.therpgacademy@gmail.com. We'll give you that invite link because that's where we want to interact with our community.
Yep. My favorite corner of the internet. My final thoughts are, have fun. Games are supposed to be fun. Yeah. So, if you're having fun, you're doing it right. Just play more games, play games with your friends, try to make new friends. And just, again, I want to say thank you. If you're the one person listening to this, or if there's a million people that eventually listen to this and like right before the heat death of the universe, I really appreciate you giving us your time. We try to be entertaining, we try to be educational, we try to be inspiring. Those are the three pillars that we aim for on anything that we do here at the Academy. And if that connects with you in any way, means the world to us. So thank you. Thank you for being here with us in whatever capacity. And we hope you'll come back in the future. Again, this will probably be it for us until early in January. We got some new stuff coming out, but thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate it. And Tom, thank you, buddy, because without you, a lot of this would not be happening. And I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Michael.
So remember, if you're having fun,
you're doing it right.
Thanks. See you next year. Bye.
Bye. I now stop this.